Hi everyone, I am Miss Lalita Kudli from Pisajabin PU College of Science. In this video, let us start with the second chapter, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. This chapter is of 10 hours and its weightage is about 8 marks, the maximum of 8 marks. In the previous chapter, we discussed about the reproduction in various organisms. Now here we are discussing about the reproduction in flowering plants, that is angiosperms. What is flower? We all know that the flower is a modified shoot and it is meant for sexual reproduction. For biologists, it is a morphological and embryological marvels, and these are the sites of sexual reproduction. We all know that the typical flower consists of 4 orals. Let us recall all those orals and let us recall the functions of the 4 orals. The typical angiospermic flower, it consists of 4 orals, that is the outermost oral called calyx, then followed by corolla, androecium and gynoecium. The calyx and corolla are known as accessory orals because these calyx and corolla, they perform secondary functions like protection of androecium and gynoecium when they are in bud condition. Then androecium and gynoecium, these are known as essential orals or reproductive orals because they part in the process of sexual reproduction. Look at this flower. This is stalk of the flower, okay, and this is the green part of this part is calyx and it is made up of sepal, and this is the brightly colored part. These are petals and the petals together forms corolla, okay, and this calyx and corolla, as I said, these are outermost orals, okay. So the corolla, when it is brightly colored, it attracts the insects and birds for pollination, and this is a stamen, okay, and the stamen together forms androecium, and androecium is the male reproductive part of the flower, okay, and this is the gynoecium. It is also known as pistil, okay. The pistil, it is made up of carpels, okay, and it is a female reproductive part of the flower. All these orals, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, they are present at the tip of the flower, okay, that is known as the thalamus. Here are the detailed structure of various parts of the typical angiospermic flower. As I said, the stalk of the flower is known as pedicel. So this is pedicel, and all the orals, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, they are placed at the tip of the pedicel, that is known as thalamus or a receptacle. The outermost oral, it is known as calyx, which protects the androecium and gynoecium when they are in bud condition. Then calyx is made up of sepals. The next oral is corolla, and the corolla, it is made up of petals, okay, and the petals, when they are brightly colored, they attract the insects and birds for pollination. The androecium, it is a male reproductive part, and gynoecium is a female reproductive part. This image that I have taken it from the textbook, and this image, it helps you to draw the diagram of typical flower. Now let us discuss about the pre-fertilization structure and functions. What is pre-fertilization? In the previous chapter we learnt about the fertilization, that is the fusion of male and female gametes is known as fertilization, and the structures which are formed before the fertilization are known as the pre-fertilization structures. That may be a formation of formation of stamens, formation of pollen grains, formation of sepals, petals, etc. Okay, and the events which occurs prior to the fertilization, and those events are known as pre-fertilization events. We all know that the various hormonal and structural changes taking place before the formation of a flower. Okay, so these hormonal and structural changes, they initiates the differentiation and further development of a floral primordium. It means usually we have seen the vegetative reproduction, vegetative growth of the plant takes place. Then vegetative part of the it changes into floral primordium, and then it differentiates into the various structures such as calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Okay. The inflorescence, the natural cluster of the flowers is known as inflorescence. It bears the floral buds, and these buds they form the flowers. In a flower, the male and female reproductive structures, that is androecium and gynoecium, they differentiate and develop. Now let us discuss about the structure of stamen. A typical stamen, it consists of mainly two parts. One is the long slender stalk. You look at this. This is the long slender stalk. This is known as a filament. Okay, and a lobed structure which is attached to a filament, and this is called anther. Okay, so the base of the anther, that is the proximal end of the filament, it is attached to petals or a thalamus. Okay, so here most of the angiosperms, the anthers are bilobed, that is it consists of two lobes, hence it is known as dithecous. Di means two, theca means there are two lobes are present in it. Each lobe consists of two pollen sacs. Okay, hence this is known as what? Dithecous. Next, the anther consists of two lobes. Each lobe consists of two pollen sacs, and these pollen sacs are known as microsporangium. Singular is a microsporangium. Okay, so the bilobe nature of the anther is very distinct in the transverse section, and the anther is tetragonal or four-sided. Okay, and structure consists of four microsporangium. Two microsporangium in each lobe. Okay, and these lobes they extend longitudinally through the length of an anther and are packed with pollen grains. This is the transverse section of anther. Later we will discuss in detail about all these parts of the anther. The structure of microsporangium or the TS of anther. In a transverse section, the typical microsporangium, it appears the circular in outline, and generally it is surrounded by four wall layers and a sporogenous tissue. The four wall layers of the microsporangium are: the outermost oral is epidermis, then followed by endothecium, middle layers and tapetum. Okay, so all these wall layers, that is epidermis, endothecium, middle layers, these outer wall layers, they perform the function of protection and they help in the dehiscence of the anther to release the pollen grains. Look at this image that I have taken from your textbook. Okay, so this is the tetragonal in nature, and this is the outermost layer, and this outermost layer is called epidermis. Epidermis is followed by endothecium, and endothecium is followed by 2 to 3 layers of middle layers. Okay, so epidermis, endothecium and middle layers, these layers, they are protective in function. These 3 layers, they are followed by a tapetum. Okay, the tapetum is the innermost wall layer, and this tapetum, it nourishes the developing pollen grains. It means it supplies the nutrients to the developing pollen grains. And inside this tapetum, the anther, when it is young, it consists of the group of compactly arranged homogeneous cells called sporogenous tissue. Okay, so it occupies the center of each microsporangium. This diagram, it helps you to draw this image helps you to draw the various wall layers of the pollen grains. Okay, from this part, what is the question would be asked like this: what is tapetum? Mention its function. What is tapetum? Tapetum is the innermost wall layer of the anther. The function of the tapetum is it nourishes the developing pollen grains. Okay, and name the wall layers of the anther. The question would be asked like this: the wall layers of the anthers are epidermis, endothecium, middle layers, and tapetum. Then what is sporogenous tissue? When the anther is young, a group of compactly arranged the homogeneous cells called sporogenous tissue, and it occupies the center of each microsporangium. Okay, so this question, it can also be asked for 4 or 5 mark. Explain the structure of TS of anther. Okay, so in that condition, you have to explain all these wall layers and sporogenous tissue and its function. Okay,